that we have been expecting to see. And what I really want to know is the shakeup, the outcome. Prodoxy trying to get that first touchdown. Prodoxy gets the first weapon. Sure enough, Atris on the run. Still trying to see if he can score away from this, but Pablo, he's been taken down. Chino's fallen too. It's Tayson with the comeback. Prodoxy trying to see if he can lock it down for his team, but Tayson determined to remove Prodoxy's team, and sure enough, disaster strikes. Prodoxy's trio fully down and out for the count, and Tayson has claimed the area.
Already one of our contested fights, 1-0. And do you see this already? They're already not landing at Dystopia City. Everybody was talking about it. They heard the rumors. I kept my ears to the streets all week long to figure out what their game plan was. And scrims leading up to this weren't necessarily netting the best results. And now you see them already over towards Foxy Floodgates. And what this does not only affect Visuals, Braids, and Minish. This also affects Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. This is the team. They typically trade off Surge into the distance. Now they're already disrupting the game plan.
Not the only ones. Veno, Flixie, Vico, they've got Rise in their sights, completely tackling all opposition here at Canyon Crossing. Rise doing what he can to try and stay alive, but entirely too many players to overcome. Veno breaks right through, and that's going to be the first knock. Another elimination tallied up here for Vika, Veno, and Flixie. Coyota, the sole survivor of this exchange.
And Coyota has pulled out a ton of tricks throughout his career, both online and in global events just like this. But early on in game number one, he's already being forced to play out some of those tricks. He has to disengage, stay alive a little bit longer, and try to have a chance back. But you hear the crowd in the background, Swizzy, Queasy, and Murstache uncontested at the Hive. And some are looking at this could be one of the best POIs. You get the experience for your OXR rank, the medallion, the mythic weapons, a lot of extra heals at the POI itself, and then the elevation. Kelly and Mini Miner were breaking it down so that way they can start to build that base early and accumulate the Storm Surge, so that way later on in the game they could easily start to rotate around.
And most importantly of all, they're uncontested here at Hive. Whether that stays true throughout the course of this weekend, well, that'll be determined by how things develop, but other teams still caught up in a little bit of battle processing at the start of this match. Dystopia City heating up. Epic Whale, Paper, Victor V, they made it very clear they had zero intentions of ever leaving this POI. So Tete, Raito, Razo, they're gonna have to force some sort of a conclusion to this exchange before the third parties start to trickle in.
Yeah, and it's not just Cold and his trio that are over on this side of the map that they have to watch out for. You see a team at the bottom of your mini-map. They can easily try to rotate towards the north, disrupt what's going on. So that's going to be one of the key aspects to a fight like this, but you're already seeing a flank going around from Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. They're ready to take advantage no matter what happens here, no matter who comes out on top. It's going to be them, but Tay takes a big shot. Epic Whale, the 6-time FNCS champion, dealing a massive amount of damage.
Tay down to his last little bits of HP though. Epic Whale, he's going to have to take a moment to also get some relief. Paper, nice supportive fire, and that's a big elimination cleanup onto Tay. But now, Cold, Ritual, they're starting to close in. They're interested in everything that Raito has to offer, and that's going to be the first knock here for Cold. An immediate elimination, but they've already signaled to Epic Whale, Paper, and Victor V that they've got company. Shields are cracked. Peterbot's not letting anybody escape his sights. Peterbot's aim is just notoriously strong, and he is chasing them full on key with those crash pads. He might be able to make it before they can pull off the double revive. He's challenging the wall. Victor V trying to do what he can to defend. Victor V goes in big time though. Peterbot's shut down. Cold, Ritual. They don't need this. They don't want this. They're looking to see if they can still clean up the exchange, but without Peterbot, they're going to be forced to temporarily retreat.
This is almost exactly how it was playing in some of those practice games. But this time, Paper, Epic Whale, and Victor V, they're being the aggressors in some of these situations. They try to disengage. Epic Whale goes down, but Victor V does it again. He was a huge part of them even making it to the global stage, clutch after clutch when his team went down through 4 different drop spots. But now the foot has been turned. Cold and Ritual now need to start to think in and outside of the box. How do we get our IGL back? This is exactly what Victor V did, from the revive to in the box, shutting down Peterbot early.
Just so greedy there by Pete. Victor V doing exactly what he needs to, showcasing what kind of a fragger he is. But Atris, Tayson, in a spot of trouble here. A couple of splashes, gonna ensure that Chicho is still good to go. But Chicho, he needs an opportunity here for his team to provide a little bit more backup. FKS tries to apply pressure from a separate angle. Odd Hero also looking to see if they can get some good aggressive fire through, but things are just picking up at Rangers Ruin, and Tayson gonna be able to pull things out to a little bit of a standstill now. Chicho, Atris, Tayson, they might not actually have to force this battle.
Yeah, it seems like they're overall just kind of prioritizing trying to get as much surge as possible. You see their material count relatively low in comparison to after winning that spawn fight. You'd think they'd try to get as much resources as possible, but they know when it comes to Storm Surge, it's essentially currency. It essentially allows you to freely rotate around the map versus other teams that might have to slowly rotate, sit in their surge bases a little bit longer, and figure out what they're going to do. But you see, they figured it out quick for Cold and Ritual. They already get the reboot back on up, and they're ready to play this one out because they're making way all over to Floxy already.
Still a really big wake-up call, though, for this trio. They have got to be careful. We know just how capable they are at finding those eliminations, and they're not the only ones. Boyo chasing down Razzle, Agers and Acorn right behind them. These guys just staying so tight-knit and rolling through this map. They're barely looted up at this point too, Jacob. It just looks like Surge is all theirs to control.
Yeah, and you can kind of see the crash pads, no audio. Razzle didn't even hear or see it coming. And you see there's no knock, straight elimination. So that team, that was the third one from Dystopia City, is down and out. But fight after fight, Arc, I did see it in the feed. He already got one elimination, and I was talking to them a bunch. You know, me being an NA West fan, this was their game plan all along. Contested or not, they're gonna push either towards the north or the south. They feel like these teams are easy to fight, and already that confidence continues to build. But Goofy is just trying to slow things down just a little bit, and Monster shot to take down the shield of Salco. But Arc and School, the IGL and the Fragger, they're still there. They're holding the walls and making sure nobody can get out of this one.
I mean, being honest, Arc's been running it all week long inside of the scrim lobbies, inside of the practice room. He is more than content to take up a box fight with anybody, and especially if he's got his teammates right next to him. You can see the confidence from the NA West boys, but Oshi still doing their best to hold their own despite being down a player. It doesn't seem to be deterring them. They know they can't really leave this area because they're likely to be third party. They've got to just find a way to delay and hope that they have that little bit of a saving grace from another team entering the exchange.
Uh-oh, I see somebody rotating relatively close. They said, hey, where's our invitation? We want to join this party. We want to figure out how we need to approach this situation, and they're lurking all the way underneath. So it's gonna be Salco, School, and Arc, the ones that need to watch out just a little bit. Vortex and Goofy, they're just trying to hold their ground as much as possible. But this is the thing, against a team like Arc, School, and Salco, when you try to hold your ground like this, that's for them a sign of weakness. They're gonna continue to put that pressure down. If you look at their material as well, they don't need to disengage out of this fight. They can wait as long as they want, because in essence, they're just denying you time, they're denying you opportunity, and denying the chance to get that reboot back.
But it might not be as prime as what it initially appeared, not with Queasy hovering in the distance. You can see they got a little bit of elevation to work with too. They're bound to take notice of what's going down. Elsewhere across the map though, south of Hive, King, PA's in, Phaser getting fraggy up against Scarpa and Way. And that's gonna be an easy cleanup there for King's team. Feeling really good about that aggressive start.
Now over towards Supernova, and already early on, Taco, you can kind of see where the zone is favoring a little bit towards the north, massively towards the west. So even though Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo haven't had to rotate just yet, they can focus on trying to get as much Storm Surge as possible. They've run into trouble. There's a speed bump in their plan. That's Reet, Cooper, and Curly. And he was very vocal, Reet was. He said, hey, we understand what's going on around the lobby. We've just got to make some things happen. They have 2 early eliminations. That comes with Storm Surge itself, and they're continuing to rotate through so many other teams' loop paths and pathways.
There's also just so much confidence behind Reet, and just teaming with a player that has so much faith in themselves. It's bound to just have that trickle-down effect to his teammates. Not to say that Cooper and Curly aren't clearly thinking of themselves in the same way, but it is a huge positive. But every single time this weekend, Jacob, that we see the Gentlemates, Malibuca, Ping, loading across the screen here, just waiting to find their reposition opportunity. That sole elimination on Malibuca right now, but tailing just behind Yapko, Panzer, and Seti. This could be disastrous if they don't realize what's coming up behind them.
Yeah, there's no audio visuals that far away, so they're just going to try to get some easy surge. You see the launch pads coming out. That's a huge signal. Seti and Panzer have to kind of second guess if they want to go for it, because Yapko's just getting beam targeted out of the sky. Just one shot left is all they need, but he possibly leaves that render distance and figures out a way to survive. Heads up to Seti and the Panzer. They not only building that to try to fire back on him, but that coincidentally enough shielded their teammate Yapko for him to survive.
They fully protected their trio mate. That's just excellent team play, but pulling back, Baka, Pars, Pump, a little bit tangled up right now north of Supernova Academy. Saad, Snowy, and Ryu, though, arguably in a slightly worse position, but the intention is clear. These two teams very likely to clash here, Jacob. They could both definitely utilize Surge. We know just how high those numbers and that threshold can truly climb.
Yeah, and these are two teams. I think they land relatively close to one another, almost contesting each other even. During some of those practice games, they were actually kind of feeling each other out, fighting it out, but neither team kind of won that scenario, no matter if they won the fight or not. So they're trying to take a slower approach, but that means they're rotating parallel with the zone moving towards the north. Stay toward the dead side of it all and just try to make sure they have the best chances to survive what could be a very, very chaotic storm surge if it does deactivate. And that's why you're seeing so many teams taking that proactive approach to try to gain some elevation, some high ground, and even if it means fighting it out on the surge base.
Hero, he knows Wixie is low. Nobody there to provide a little bit of backup either. That could be the first knock here. Hero with the big opening. FKS going to capitalize immediately, throws that body back into their box space control, and now FKS trying to make the approach from above. Just so aggressive though. Hero's gonna be forced to pull back just a little bit. Too much firepower breaking through, but Buyuriru just not healthy enough. Barely enough HP, and he can't escape from FKS. Aetherus even getting a little bit more involved from a distance, and this is part of the problem with trying to take some of these extended box fights. You just got these teams from so far away beaming through your walls.
Yeah, just got yoinked away. But Khanada, Rapid, and Boltz, Khanada's perfection continues in terms of qualifying for every single FNCS Grand Finals in the history of FNCS. But I think they come in with a different energy this time around. If you remember a few years ago, contested against Malibuca and Thomas at the Global Championship, he just had a different mindset. He's like, I'm contested, it's not gonna go well. This time, he's confident. He says, hey, we're going to win. And the way they've been playing lately, they have as good a chance as anybody at taking that top spot.
A little bit of a sleeper, maybe under the radar team there, but Vanya, Mariez, Pixie, one of our major champion winners in EU, and now looking to see if they can extend their dominance across the globals stage. Vanya, Mariez, Pixie, just steadily trying to creep up on the opposition, but thinking twice, recognizing a couple other teams local to their area. They don't want to overextend here, but for Mariez, he's just waiting to see whether or not he can break out these floors from underneath Valor and Mansour, doing a decent job to prevent Vanya, Pixie, and Mariez from an outright collapse.
Yeah, and they're just kind of playing as calculated as they can. We've seen a lot of these fights kind of not necessarily end as smoothly and as cleanly as some of these trios would expect, especially with so many third-party potential there. You know, we saw Aetherus just kind of yoink that elimination away early on in this game, and now Vanya just trying to target it after. He feels like he has him soloed out, dropping down a few layers, but he's able to catch himself and not let this pressure get to him too much. But they're in the zone, Taco, and that kind of depletes any opportunity from heal off later on in the game, the longer and longer you stay in this situation. But even if they win this here, they have to be careful. One team in front of them out of zone. You saw Chaff, you saw Reason, Mr. Savage. They're towards the north of them, so this is not going to be as dead side of a rotate as they think it will.
But the main thing that I'm noticing, Jacob, is that Vanya, Mariez, they're not carrying any white heal, so unless Pixie actually has something to work with, yeah, these guys are going to just have to get out of this position. They can't afford to keep tanking these early storm ticks. It's just not worth it. But on their way out, Valor and Mansour definitely not going to make it easy. Cole, Ritual, Peterbot, they might have just found Flixie and Venno and Vico, but for right now, Rangers Ruin what seems like it might have been heating up, these guys are actually looking to kind of slow it down.
Yeah, and for, you know, Ritual and his trio, they just kind of have scraps. They got sticks and stones. And look at this on the other side. Multiple minis, big pots, full health, almost max mats. And even though they don't necessarily have that information on one another, that is a great decision for them to kind of go their separate ways, because I would almost give that one up to Venno and his trio if that did fight it out. Continuing looking around, Cammy, how the eye drop all the way from the Shining Span Bridge. And honestly, even though they're on different teams, Seti, Cammy, I don't know if it would have been the same global championship without them, but Storm Surge finally showing its face. 602 damage above the threshold. As much as I want to feel confident, we know that can change in the blink of an eye.
Oh, easily, but Acorn and Agers, they might just be the ones to actually intervene here. They seemingly have favorable positioning, but Cammy, a little bit of pressure applied with the approach now of Malibuka, Ping, and Walks. Just trying to be wary. There is so much company in that area. It's very easy. Just one window edit for too long, you could easily be domed and taken down.
Uh-oh, 321 damage below the threshold. This is a two-time NA West champions. In Major 1, they won 6 out of 12 games, just dominating the region. But contested off spawn, it tends to do things to you, especially when the team is running away. But they're still hot on the hills. These are still the two teams rotating parallel to one another. But Baka, Pars, and Pump, they've now ran out of options. Their hand is being forced, and they have to go in because Storm Surge will activate, and every 7 seconds they will take 25 damage.
But the worst part still, Saad not actually in the same position. His team relatively healthy for their surge, at least for right now, Jacob. Bars, Baka, Pump, they're going to take a moment to pause, but now with these Storm ticks starting to break away at their shields, they're going to be forced to fight it. Baka already out of this battle. Pars shortly after, but now Saad, Snowy, Ryu, this is a huge come up. These guys just got a little loot bomb package delivered straight to their front door.
And I forgot to mention, if Storm Surge takes you down, you don't get knocked. You get straight eliminated back to the lobby, but I did see it in the feed. A couple of these guys kind of putting it all in the test as Cooper lands a great shot on the Valor. You see him dropping him down, trying to finish the fight. 1v3 situation, and he is just hitting haymaker after haymaker as he gets another knock in this situation. 319 above, Cooper with the 1v3.
That couldn't have been a better time to clutch things up, but Cooper is still going to have to essentially play his life here. There are too many players that are going to prevent him from finding that breath of relief. 42 below even, inside of that damage threshold for Surge. Jacob, it is so sad to see after what a phenomenal clutch he just pulled off, and with Walks, Malibuka, and Ping pressing behind him, that's going to be tough to actually survive. But Peterbot just continues to have to deal with playing the defensive here. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot now looking to be on the move, but they're still just barely above this damage threshold. They're going to have to turn and fight eventually.
They're sitting on a teeter-totter right now when it comes to Storm Surge, and it's knocking them above, below, and it's essentially doing a little bit of mind games for a team like this. And you see his material count, 3 builds left. They almost have to go onto the next team they see, but it's Venno and his trio. It's Khanada and his trio. There's so many dangerous players all around. They're just happy that they're 73 above the damage threshold, waiting for the next zone, but they have to do something because everyone around them is being proactive. They see them out the weak team. Vigo, Venno, Flixie, they're targeting over. Pole goes down. That's Khanada stealing away that elimination. Venno's going to clean that one up, so points go to Khanada's team. Loot goes to Venno's.
EU on one side, Middle East on the other, and Ritual, the last man standing, but not for much longer, fully eliminated. That is a huge blow here in game 1, but Vico, Venno, Flixie, now they might have drawn the attention of the lobby. They're going to take a moment to pause, replenish their shields. Halad and Hero still doing what they can, but they're lingering just outside. They're going to have to still try and push past Tayson's trio, and that's going to be hard to tunnel through because Jacob, with the way that the zone is pulling over resistance, so much water, so much exposure, teams are just burning through materials.
Yeah, this one's going to get messy. There's one lone team. I think they're a duo on the other side of that island already. They don't have to worry about anything. Meanwhile, they have to make decisions here on this side of the zone. Do you stack up the beach coast as long as possible with different players, or do you try to make that daring play, try to get towards the center? Because who knows, if the zone goes south, that'll be a play that works out for you, but if it pulls north, if it pulls towards the east, that's when they're going to have some troubles.
Take but look at what's happening on height, though. Queasy, Merstash, and Swizzy. Can you think of anything different to ever take place in an endgame lobby, Jacob, than seeing Queasy immediately try to challenge and take height for himself? You can already tell the gentlemates are going absolutely ballistic right now. Swizzy and Merstash just following through Queasy's commands here out of their IGL, but they've got the entire lobby in their sights. It's all about maintaining their positional control.
Oh, they actually found themselves 66 below, but you can see immediately with that minigun and some pre-edits, they're able to kind of take him down, grab that elimination. Loot and Storm Surge all being accumulated in a blink of an eye, kind of leaving Pixie and Marius by themselves. The good thing, though, is they're 568 damage above the threshold. The bad thing, though, their loadout, their material count, that one is not looking good. 5 bandages. Luckily, they don't have any HP missing yet, but they have a max pull all across the water to the other side of that island. It's not going to be easy for a single person in this game, but there goes Malabuka. Nice drop on the hottie. He needs it, and he needs it now because he's barely above that damage threshold.
And that's the kind of refresh that Marius was hoping to find, but instead it's going to be all Malabuka. But no, he's going to actually be forced to keep charging forward. He doesn't even get a chance to try and collect that body loot off of Hottie. Fortunately, he still has a good amount of material and just beaming a minute as he trails behind him. The Fizz Crash Pad combination just taking him so far, but when you're in this position, Jacob, as a solo over the water, you're just hoping out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, you just got to take it one step at a time. You can't get too ahead of yourself, especially if you hear action going down around you. You got to use that as a distraction, try to get out, but Marius finds himself in a tough spot. Well above the damage threshold, and another elimination on the eye drop, but he is by himself as a solo with a rotation to make. Now he's just getting ticked away little by little until Halad is able to finally take him down. That's a big confidence boost for a team like that.
Of course, but Height has had a couple of developments here. Striker and Kadu, we saw them posturing a little bit earlier on before that last rotate. This next pool is going to send everyone packing, though. Reason Mr. Savage Chap definitely setting up a visual is actually going to be one of the first to try and move into the next position. Cisco, Kaidu, Striker, though, right up above. Khanada, Rapid, and Boltz trying to see if they can be a threat. But if you're going to be in this height position, you've got to make sure that you are controlling, funneling players away from height, away from secondary height even. But with the crash pads in play, Jacob, that's going to be so difficult.
Yeah, you got to watch out, too. Chicho, Riz, Tayson, they're underneath. They're probably having their eye on the high ground. Cisco's trying to put good damage onto King Phaser PH Sin, but it backfires on him, forcing him to retreat just a little bit. As Tayson just building his way up, he knows he doesn't want to be stuck on that mess on the low ground. And even NA West in the elimination feed going crazy as Arkansas will take down King Phaser and PH Sin with a little help from Chap.
But Tayson's got such an excellent position in that secondary height layer now, shooting towards that front side of zone. It's only Clicks and Iyamzo. They lost Higgs somewhere along the way. Iyamzo doing what he can to claim a little bit of space here next to Clicks, but ideally, they're going to have to duke it out in the low ground, Jacob. They need a big refresh. They've got to keep that material count high, but Merstash, he's actually falling the mid ground, getting a little bit too chaotic, and he just couldn't break through.
Yeah, Chicho's the one that gets the down, but Kadu's the one that steals away the elimination and getting a lot of loot for their efforts. Queasy trying to do the same thing. Steal whatever is left back from Merstash. And you're seeing there's a decent amount of loot. The Flowberry Fizz, probably the most important part of the entire loadout that he has in that inventory is Benno, Quixie, Vico. They're still down below. They're trying to claim space, and with a minigun, that's just going to be a little bit easier. But with no extra shields, Vico's got to play a little careful here not to take too much damage. Swizzy, Queasy, same thing, but they have multiple splashes. They got the slurp juice. They got the key to success in their inventory.
But they don't have the material, so that's why Queasy just drops all the way down to ultimate low. They're hoping that they can pick up an elimination or two and then maybe look to try and challenge for a retake on height. They know how scuffed everybody's looking down here, but Vico finds that elimination onto Art. That's going to be a massive refresh fresh here. Vico, though, getting beamed. The moment that he tries to make a layer swap, he is immediately put down into the dirt. Clicks fighting for his life still in the low ground, but he just can't hang. Off-ball's gonna be the one to take him out.
Yeah, even though Clicks went down, the damage has been felt for that team that he just took out two different players in a tough situation. That's Tayson, Chicho, they're trying to look up, but that minigun is just causing so many distractions. They have to focus on getting to the front side of the zone, but they're being persistent. Down goes high ground. This is their chance. They're looking up. Striker gets cracked. He gets knocked altogether. Tisco's taking damage. He's gonna fall as well. Chicho is absolutely insane. As him and Tayson, they go from the on-spawn battle against Brodoxy to high ground in the end game.
But they're still gonna need materials. Chicho has 0 build left to his name. All of his material count dropped to Tayson. Swizzy still holding his own as well. Deep inside of these ultimate low ground layers, he's looking to try and maybe cut off Boltz in the process, but Khanada, Rapid, can the double revive actually be a success? And sure enough, it's a fully intact trio versus the sea of duos. Reason finds a big elimination onto Swizzy though, and Chap going to immediately drop back. Tayson still on the high ground. This is looking grind up for Tayson to bring it home.
That was a huge knock for Boltz. They finished that elimination on the Reason. This is a 2v2v2, and the only team alive with all three is going to be Rapid, Khanada, and Boltz. Ow, that's not my fault. I didn't curse him, but it is now just one less player that they have to worry about. Tayson trying to drop down low, but maybe a little too soon. Chicho as well. He gets shut down, and Khanada, Rapid, and Boltz steal the game.